2006 BMW X3 valve cover replacement. I'm Brian Esk from How To Automotive. I'm going to walk you through the steps of replacing that. Okay, to get started with the valve cover, I'm going to remove the strut bracing here. So I'm just going to remove the 2 bolts on this side and 2 bolts on the opposite side. So next I'm going to take the cover off here and take the cover off the valve cover here. And to do that, you're going to use a little screwdriver, pop the clips up, pop the caps off, and you remove that one here, one here, one here, and here. And then underneath there'll be 10mm bolts. Remove those 10mm bolts. After you get all 4 of the 10mm bolts off, you also remove the oil filter cap, and then you'll lift the covers off. So after getting the covers off, I went ahead and just put the oil cap back on. And the next step we're going to do is unplug all 6 coils. So you're just going to lift the coils up and unplug them, all 6 of them. And after you get all 6 of them unplugged, then you're going to pop the coil out. And the way I like to do it is use a flat blade screwdriver and put it under the edge of the coil. And with your other hand, hold the lever up like this and pull upwards. So it'll look like this when you pop them up. So once you get all the coils unplugged and removed, if you like, you can set them like on your bench or something like that in order the way you took them out. It doesn't really matter, but some people like to do that. So you can take them and set them all aside somewhere safe where they're all in order, and then when you put them back in, you can put them back in the same order you took them out. So next we're going to get this wire loom off, and to do that you're going to remove the 8mm bolts, little nuts to hold the ground wires on. So you go ahead and remove those. There's a couple of them, one here and one here. And then after that, what you're going to do is you're going to look for these little ears on the on this wire loom holder right here. And right here, right where they are, you're going to put your little flat blade screwdriver right underneath it and pop it and pry it up like this, and it'll pop the loom out of the little catch like that. And then once you get the ground straps unplugged, then you can take this and just flare it over on this side of the engine out of your way. So the next step is to take our oxygen sensor wiring that it's laying in this little loom that's built into the valve cover here. So you're going to pop it up and out like that. And then these little metal tabs, you're going to flare them open like this and pull the wiring out. And you're going to follow the wire loom all the way around until it's free like this. So you want all the wire loom to be up like this, and that's as far as you need to go. Next is we need to take this vent line off right here, and to do this we're just going to squeeze the tabs and pull, and these can get stuck and they can be brittle so be careful. And if they won't come out, you can also stick a little screwdriver right here and you can gently twist them a little bit and flare these open a little bit, and then it'll pull off. So now what we're going to do is remove 11 10mm bolts that go around the perimeter of the valve cover. So you start anywhere you want to start, but so I'm going to start here and remove this bolt and work my way around. And there's going to be every couple inches there's a 10mm bolt, and you just follow the perimeter around just like that, removing all of the 10mm bolts like this. And once you get all 11 of them removed, then there's going to be 4 that go down the center. So you're going to remove one here, here, and one in the back here. Remove all 4 of those, so 15 in total. And as you remove these bolts, you want to pop out the rubber grommet, and make sure you don't lose the metal washer on it too. So after removing all the bolts from the valve cover from around the perimeter and down the center, I'm going to take a flat blade screwdriver and put it right here next to the cover right here, and kind of give it a little pry, and maybe give it a little twist like this after you get it under there, and work the valve cover up. And as you get the valve cover up a little bit, then you can just work it around like this and pry it off. Okay, now that the valve cover has been popped up and free, I'm just gonna kind of lift the wiring harness out of my way and kind of just lift the valve cover up. And you gotta maneuver the wires out of your way and work the valve cover out of the car. Like so. And then the actual valve cover gasket itself may stick to the cylinder head and you may have to peel that off too. Now that the valve cover is out, we'll proceed to clean up the valve cover and clean up the cylinder head. And also, as you can see in my case, the tube seals are actually stuck in here. So you want to be careful. These center parts right here get brittle, and if they break and all the pieces fall in the motor, you want to be aware of that and make sure you get all the pieces out if it breaks. And if they're really stuck on there, you can use pliers or whatever and kind of be careful and just work the old gasket off. As you can see, it broke off like there. So once you get all these pieces off, it may break around here. Just double check and be careful, and you may have to fish out a few of the little gasket pieces that may break and get brittle. So as you can see, the tube seals got really brittle when they came out, and they broke into pieces, a lot of little pieces like this. So you may have little bits of pieces of it like this, debris like that, floating in the motor, and you want to be careful and try to fish all that out and then clean up all the surfaces around like this. And just use little scrapers and try not to dig into the surface of it, but just scrape off this stuff. And then after that, then you can use a combination of brake clean, parts cleaner, and rags, and wipe the perimeter of the cylinder head off and dry it all off, remove all the old oil. And then if your tube seals were leaking internally into the spark plugs, you're going to have to clean that out too. I'll show you how to do that after we put the valve cover back on. So right now we're going to clean the surface, all this, and then after it's back on, what we can do is we can fill this up with brake clean and spray it in there and use compressed air to blow all the oil out of it. And then we can remove the spark plugs and use shop rags and wipe out the tubes. And then if the spark plugs are in good shape, you can reuse them. If not, then you might want to replace the spark plugs at this time. A tip for getting some of the debris that may have come off from the valve cover tube seals is to take a little tub of grease like this and a thin screwdriver and get a good healthy blob of grease on the end of the screwdriver like this. And then you can go down to the little plastic pieces that are floating around like that, and you can dab the grease on there, and then that'll help retrieve all the little plastic pieces that may have fallen into the cylinder head. And just take your time and make sure and thoroughly look around with flashlights and thoroughly try to get every little piece that you can out of the engine. So when I clean the mating surface of the cylinder head, I like to take the brake clean like this and spray it on the rag, directly onto the rag, and then use the rag. And what I like to do is I like to wipe away from the cylinder head, so you don't want the debris and dirt falling into the cylinder head. So you wipe away and wash all the old oil off. And you do that all the way around the cylinder head. And once you get it clean and you wipe away, then you can do the same thing for the tubes here. You want to wipe it all off and get all the excess oil that was on there off. And then after I do that, I'll switch the rag to a new rag and do it again a couple times until I get all the oil off. Now that your cylinder head mating surface is all cleaned up, we're going to turn our focus to the valve cover itself and finish removing the gasket. And go ahead and peel it all off, and if it breaks or whatever and sticks into the groove, just go ahead and remove it all. And then we're going to wash the valve cover. So after cleaning your valve cover up, it's time to reinstall our tube seals and our gasket on the valve cover itself. And not all brands are created equally when it comes to these tube seals and stuff. So you want to put it on, and you want the one side will have this little hook around, and one side will not. The side with the little hole in it goes around the port right like this. So you put them on, and what I was saying is not all of them are created equally, and some of them they fit really tight and they're snug and you don't have to worry about them, and some of them are loose. And if yours is one of the ones that are kind of loose, then what I recommend is using a very thin layer of 3M black super adhesive weather strip. And like this one's kind of on the loose side, it's borderline. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put I mean a real thin layer. You don't need a lot, just a thin layer, and that'll hold the gasket in place. And the same thing goes for the main gasket that goes around the valve cover. If it's loose fitting and it doesn't feel like it's going to stay in, then I recommend using a little small bead around the valve cover. Okay, now that the valve cover is all cleaned up and our gasket is reinstalled into the cover and glued in if you needed to, I'm going to take a little black RTV. In this case, I like to use the brand Permanex the right stuff. I've used this for years and it works great. So I'm going to, on the corners of these little lobes on the valve cover, I'm going to put a little dab of silicone in each one of the little corners, and that's all you need is a little dab. You don't need a whole lot. So I'll do all 4 corners on the front and all 4 corners on the back. So I had a quick wipe down, final wipe down before I put the valve cover back on. Now that everything's wiped down one last time, we're going to reinstall the valve cover. I'm just going to slide it underneath the wiring harness here and be very careful. And reach around the back and pull the wiring harness over the valve cover. Just slide it in and line up the little grooves on the front, the little moons in the front and the back, and I'll push the valve cover down onto its spot. Okay, now that the valve cover is pretty much in position, I'm going to take a mirror like this and I'm going to put it in here where the cam lobes are of the valve cover here, and make sure that everything is seating in there properly like this. And I'll check around to make sure that the gasket didn't slip out anywhere. So I'll follow around the whole valve cover. And the one you want to take special attention to is the ones in the back here. See, as you can see right there, my the wire loom is actually underneath my valve cover, so I need to lift this up and get that out. If you can see it, the gray wire. So before I put any bolts on or anything on, I'm going to fish that out and then recheck to make sure that the lobes that look like this in the back are in the right proper seat. And then once I'm confident that the gasket's in the right position, now that the valve cover is pretty much set onto the cylinder head and everything's lined up and no wires are pinched or anything, I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the new rubber grommets that went in around the bolt holes. So I'll install new ones on that, and then the new washers, and then I'll start all the nuts. I found the easiest way to start these is to take the nut and the washer like that, and then put the grommet on the nut and washer, and then start it on the valve cover. Once you got it all assembled like this. And then you can start it like that by hand. Okay, after installing all the washers, bolts, and nuts all the way around, all 15 of them, and the ones with the studs go in the middle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten it up. I'm going to use a 1/4-inch ratchet and a 10 millimeter socket to do this. And the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to start in the center and I'm going to tighten this one down, and you're going to do it by feel. And you're going to tighten it down and you're going to feel it snug up, and then just like a 1/4 turn more. And then so I'm going to do this in a crisscross pattern. So I'm going to go middle, below, top. And then I'll do middle, below, top, middle, below, top, and so on all the way back and forth. So basically you're going to start in the middle and work your way out and tighten up all 15 bolts. And you're going to do it all by feel. So you're going to tighten them down until they're snug, and then once they're tight and snug, that's about it like that. I'll go around it, and then I'll do it again. I'll go around it and give it a second little turn. After I did all 15, I'll do a go around for a second pass. So you do it in a couple passes, and once you get them all complete and tight, It's all done by feel. Then after that, we'll reinstall all of our wire looms. So now after all the bolts are on and tight, go ahead and just reinstall the wire loom back into the little brackets, the little metal brackets. After you get those all installed all the way around the valve cover, the next step is to put on the vent line. So you're gonna take the vent line and just line it up with the valve cover and push it on until you hear it click, and you give it a little pull, make sure it doesn't pop back off. So if your tube seals were leaking and the oil is down into the spark plug tubes, what I like to do is take a can of brake clean like this, and I'll spray it in the tube, and I'll literally fill the tube up with brake clean. And then after it's all full of brake clean, take a shop rag, put it over the hole like this, kind of slip my air blower like this with some compressed air, and I'll slip it in there, and I'll blow out all the brake clean and oil, completely blow it out. And then after it's all blown out, I'll do that a couple times with the air. And you also want to make sure you wear safety glasses or something. You don't want the stuff to spray back in your face or anything, get in your eyes or anything. So after you blow it out, then you can remove the spark plug. And after you remove the spark plug, what I do is take a clean rag and I'll put it over the hole like this, and I'll stuff a screwdriver or a extension and push it in there, and then wipe out the tube. So now we're ready to reinstall our coils. We're just going to slide them down the tubes, line up the little grooves with them, and push them down until they lock into place like that. Do all 6. Now you're going to take your coil wire loom like this and go ahead and route it back into where the little slots where they go. And once you get these little tabs lined up, you can go ahead and just push straight down, and they'll lock into place, and they'll re-snap into place. Then after that, you can take the ground wires and reinstall them on the studs, bolts here, and then reinstart the nuts and tighten those up. And you don't want to over tighten them. Just put the nuts on, start them, and run them down and snug them up. Now you want to plug the coils in, so you just want to line them up and push in really hard until you fully get them to seat, and then push the door down. I've had these where you push them in and it feels like it's seated before, and you close the door down and it is slightly pulled back, and it won't make contact in the car or misfire. So you want to definitely make sure you give it an extra little push in towards the coil, pretty firm, and then close the door on them. Now we're ready to reinstall our top engine covers. You're going to have to remove the oil cap again, slide the top cover on, line up the studs, and then after that, put the bolts on, put the cap on, tighten it up. And then on the this cover here, it has these little ears. They kind of hook underneath here, so you want to, when you get it in the right area, you just hook it under, and then you lay it down and start the bolts. Now that you got the covers reinstalled, the next step is to put on the strut bracing. So you'll just put the brace back on and start the 4 bolts and tighten them up. And once you get that complete, that'll complete the service of replacing the valve cover gasket on a 2006 BMW X3 with the 3-liter engine. I'm Brian Essick from How To Automotive. I'd like to thank you guys for watching my video. I encourage you to subscribe and invite you to come over to the howtoautomotive.com website for more valuable videos like this. And if you see any tools or products that I'm using in any of these videos, they are available on the website. Thank you again for watching.